The volume and the thing, you two different things.
Popular Misfit podcast. It's your boy
Oh,
SO.
what? Hold on. Can you-
I'm tripping. You gotta forgive me.
I was like, the echoes and shit. You stepping your game up this week.
tongue dead or something.
my bad. This is the Popular Misfit podcast. This is your guy SO.
It's Shannon.
It's your boy, I man. Look,
Look at us. All of us tongue twisted, huh?
Karma's real.
We baby lightweight sleepy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Man.
It's hot as a pea, man. What's
Real
going on
talk.
with y'all?
And we are back at it with another episode. This is a special episode because I have two lovely guests with me. Been friends for a minute. Guess what? You tell everybody out there who you guys are.
I'm Ciara O. I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I am an educator within CCSD and I've been in Vegas for a very, very long time. I love my city.
Where you originated from? Where you from originally?
Omaha, Nebraska. Yes, there are black people there.
Girl, I ain't know.
Belly taught y'all.
Okay.
All in the
You
north.
from Nebraska?
I'm from Nebraska.
So you're a corn husker.
I am.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, don't be.
Okay. And what about yourself too over there on the end, all quiet?
Oh, I ain't quiet. My name is Kera, last name Redmond. I am from New Jersey, member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Okay.
I have been a Delta for it's almost 16 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. I work in the healthcare field.
Right.
And I've been in Vegas for almost 13 years.
13?
Yeah.
Where you originally from?
I'm from South Jersey, 10 minutes from Philly.
Talk closer
so-
to the mic a little bit.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
okay. This is new.
Yeah, but you good.
But,
You good. You good.
Get to the mic over here, baby.
Yeah, South Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's
East
up.
Coast.
Yes,
That's what's
ma'am.
up. After our first episode, Shannon had called me in the parking lot. She was like, I want to talk about Black Greeks and sororities. Sororities and fraternities. I said, we could have this question, but to be fair, I wanted to have somebody to represent the sorority side because
Right.
I didn't want to be bombarded with all the questions myself. I could answer it, but just to be fair. So I've been knowing y'all for a minute, and I reached out to Ciara a while ago, just time schedule, so we finally got both of y'all in at the same time. So shoot your questions out, Shannon.
Okay, so some of these ain't. Let's be real.
Oh.
Okay.
I hope so.
Because I have a really, really good friend of mine. She's an AKA.
Oh,
And
ski
so,
weed.
but my daughter, she's only in 8th grade, but she's like, I'm ready to go to college. I want to pledge, but she wants to be a Zeta. And so instantly my friend's face just scrunched up like, a Zeta? I was like, okay, so y'all really like gangs, low key. So
We're not at all. I will sit there and say,
don't give me the what is this?
I'm gonna be very honest. So when it comes across it, and we actually just had this conversation with youth groups on Thursday. All of our organizations, fraternities or sororities, we all have the foundation of sisterhood, brotherhood, scholarship, and service. So when it comes down to it, I personally, and I had this conversation even last night, if I had a daughter, when I have a daughter or a son, especially a daughter, I don't care what organization they join, because we have the solid foundation. You need to make the right decision for you. However, my money is only going to Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
And I agree.
And even when it comes down even further than that, because that's the only place my money is going. However, I hope to lead by example, where they are surrounded by pink and green. They are surrounded by the work and the influence that I have in the community, that they would want to follow in my footsteps.
Right.
But I also surround myself by beautiful Delta women, by beautiful Zetas, by beautiful SGROs. And so when it comes down to sisterhood, scholarship, and service.
And that is the bottom line. Really. That really is it. Like Ciara said, if I had kids, my dollars are going to Delta. But I would hope that, they make the decision, because solely you're your own person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every organization is not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, the decision is ultimately theirs, but Kira's dollars is going to Delta. So I agree with Ciara in that, and I have a plethora of friends in all types of orgs, D9 orgs and multicultural orgs. So, I don't.
Just put in the work.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. Put in the work.
So what made you choose? Do you have family, like a mother or grandmother who was a Delta or AKA?
I don't.
Okay, so what made? I want both of you to answer, but what made you choose AKA versus Delta or Zeta or SGRO or?
So I chose Delta because when I was in high school, my high school counselor, she was a Delta, and I lived in her office. And she was just, I didn't know anything about the organization. I just knew I wanted to be everything that she exuded. She cared about her students. She, we mattered to her. And I was like, I want to be just like her. It just so happened that she went to the college that I went to. I had no idea. My senior year, I graduated. I didn't know that she had went to the college that I was going to, and she was a member of Delta in that chapter, right? So when I got to school, I wasn't even looking to be Greek. That wasn't it just so happened the administrators that I connected with, the students that I connected with, they just so happened to be Deltas. So that's how I ended up making my choice. I was friends with, because I'm a social butterfly, so I was friends with everyone. I was friends with girls that were in white sororities, and I was friends with girls who were in multicultural orgs, but my personality fit Delta. And you're 18 when you get to college. Yeah. Those women helped me grow, right? Okay. They poured a lot into me. And that's how I ended up making the choice to be a Delta, because I was friends with, I partied with, I studied with, with everybody. Okay. But the women who I really connected with were Deltas. So that was how I made my choice.
That makes sense.
What about you, Ciara?
When I sit there and think about the question, I actually celebrated 10 years of being an Alpha Kappa Alpha woman in November. And so initially in high school, I was the first to go to college. I know Greeks in my family. I was the first to do that. And so when I was in high school, I was a debutante. And a lot of the women that are in Femme Deuce here in Las Vegas are Deltas. And they would have their letters and, you saw them or whatever. And so I was just like, okay, I might be wanting to go Delta because I'm seeing these women, pour into me like that. But then there's one woman and she still pours into me so amazingly. It's crazy. Billy Rayford. I knew she wasn't a Delta, but I didn't know what she was or who she was or the influence that she had. But she moved so gently and so quietly, but she had this presence. And I learned that she was a woman of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And when I went to college, I still was thinking I'm going to go Delta. My friends even went, Delta. And I started watching how they move, and I started to see more of these women. They moved, but you didn't necessarily know what they were a part of. You just knew that they were strong. And I wanted to be more like that, where just, and once again, we all sisterhood scholarship service, but I wanted to be.
You making a strong case right now.
Right.
I wanted to be just this influence and this powerhouse without you necessarily knowing what I also represent. Or also where I go. And it's probably been one of the best decisions I've ever made. But I still, my Delta influences and all that stuff is still there. However, there was something about Billy Rayford in particular that I needed to be in her presence, and I needed to be in her graces and her energy. And since then, I've gained so many Billy Rayfords that it's ridiculous.
That's amazing.
Do you think the misconception with a lot of people that's not in Black Greek life think that because you're a Delta or because you're AKA, you only exclusively deal with your sorority? Because what I've experienced too personally is like a lot of my friends are from other orgs. They're not all necessarily IOTAs. So I learned that.
But it's only like 6 of y'all.
Stop. Don't be disrespectful.
Don't shade us right here, huh? No, we over 25 in the city. Well, we're considered the new kids on the block. We was founded in '63. So like I'm part of the charter members of the ones in Vegas. So like I'm one of the first 10 in Vegas. Okay, so we're new to the city area. So that's why a lot of people don't know us, and we always get your founders are still alive and all this. And I'm like, your founders was alive too at one point in time. Right. Like, let us live. So we get the new kids on the block because we haven't been set in stone to where we can't get thrown those stereotypes from a lot of people that a lot of orgs might have.
Okay.
I remember when one of the members of your organization came up to me. I used to be the president of PhD on campus at UNLV, and he said, we want to get IOTA chapter. Like, we want to get, IOTA Phi Theta on campus. And I was like,
talk about older guy with the glasses on the bay. I was just talking about him today.
Those that we shall not be named, who is in my friend request, like being left. He be nobody's friend. But anyway, so when it comes down to that, I just remember, and I was like, what's an iota? And you know what I mean? I had to, like, I knew, you know the D9.
You hear
like,
it.
You hear it, but like, what does this mean? And I just, and I've loved them ever since.
And our friendship was based off of that too. When I crossed, you was one of the first ones in the other orgs to like reach out to us, and we just built off of that.
Yes, I love y'all. I tell people all the time, like some of my closest friends are iotas. When I got married, people, they were strolling at my wedding, and people were like, "Are those real iotas? Is that for real?" I was like, "Yeah, guys, y'all saw a unicorn." But they're great people. Y'all do great things. I love y'all.
Yeah, and my iota experience is, I think there were no iotas when I was undergrad, and I think if one transferred in, and then he created, he chartered a chapter. If my memory serves me right, I could be completely wrong, but he was the only one, and then I left after that. But when I got here, I kind of like had to infiltrate my way in. But some of the first guys that I met who, welcomed me here were iota.
Yes, y'all so loved.
And it was different for me because I'm like, is we supposed? Right?
I get it. We the new kids, so it's like y'all part of the D9, but we don't see too many of y'all that know how y'all move for the most part. It'd be a question mark.
Like, what do I base this off of?
Okay. So to speak on that, your initial question as far as like our friendships, like low key, like birthday parties and brunches and gatherings could be like a mini MPHC meeting. Like everybody, you know what I mean? Everybody's there because like if you doing work and you in the community, like you rub elbows with like dope people.
You gave
NPHC.
What is
NPHC, the National Panhellenic Council. So
okay, because I was like,
is the official name of what you traditionally hear as the D9.
D9.
Okay.
So
the Divine Nine. Prior to the iota is the Elite Eight. Where
Elite Eight.
See, she shaded you.
It wouldn't be no D9 if it wasn't for the iota.
You know what I mean? So like as far as like all these terms you'll sit there and hear like interchangeably, and it's so funny. Even some of my season soars, they forget about y'all sometimes, and I still hear the Elite Eight, and I'm like, I'm sorry. So
I remember when I first heard it, I was like, what is that?
The Elite Eight?
Yeah.
My aunt, she's like practically like my mother. She raised me as a kid. She's a Zeta. She's been a Zeta all my life. So all my life I was seeing blues, Zeta this, Zeta that, Zeta that. So when I told her I was an iota, she was like, okay, whatever. But I remember she pledged in the 70s. So it's like, we wasn't even thought of back then as far as the D9 is considered. So I get it why she got that. Now she's open up to it. She understands it. But list of hands of anybody in here was in the youth group in high school? Just Ivan?
Just
really?
Yeah.
What were you, Ivan?
M5. Men of Tomorrow.
Yes.
How did that help you as far as high school was considered, like as far as networking?
I was only in it for my senior year, and I really was only in it to be in a step show because that's where all the girls was at.
I get it.
There's some people that join organizations today that still believe that, like they join
the step show.
Like you did it your senior year?
Yeah, my senior year.
You
know what's funny?
I was
gonna do that too my senior year.
Like it's fun.
It's fun. It gets you
they
girls.
I mean, something has to attract you to it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And as far as
this is deeper than just stepping.
Right.
In Las Vegas, like that was in high school, that was the thing. Like at the end of that basically was the end of the school year. Like the step show in Las Vegas was huge. That was the hugest event of the high school year.
Do they still do that?
There's a step show today, actually. No, there's a step show today.
Is there?
There are. It is. I'm gonna pull it up.
High school?
High school. I want to say it's at Legacy. Let me pull the flyer if somebody sends it to me. I'm not going. However, it's happening tonight.
I'm gonna have to pull up. I don't know if this. The Unity Fest was huge. Like that was the thing you practiced for the whole year. So to me, it was like I want to be on that stage. And a friend of mine was like, he was initially a Phi Beta Sigma, what was the Sigma Beta Club, which is under the Phi Beta Sigmas Fraternity Incorporated.
You talking about Julian?
Julian. And so his senior year, he switched to N5. He was like, I'm gonna get you on the stage, so you gonna pledge with us. And that kind of led me to my question because. We had to go through the hazing process, which I know is completely different than college. But
we are non-hazing organizations.
I don't even know what that means, bro.
We are non-hazing organizations.
Have y'all always been that way?
Always.
We are non-hazing organizations.
You can't speak on the past, huh?
Always.
I've only been a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated for 10 years. We are non-hazing organizations.
Have y'all been that way since you got there?
We are non-hazing organizations.
Non-hazing organizations.
What about the Delta?
Don't ask me no question about no deltas and no hazing. We do not.
Okay, so
We will
Sean,
not
Ionas, we are the only
entertain it.
elite organization residing in the NPHC without a lawsuit regarding hazing.
Also, okay, so this question is to y'all.
No, they are a non-hazing organization as well.
Say it again.
Oh, so we can't speak on that. So I get it now. Okay. So it's like,
So the step show tonight is gonna be at
was waiting for
Legacy
him to
High
get it.
School Saturday,
Oh, no, I got it.
February 29th.
I mean,
You just get an asshole.
you gotta push the envelope a little bit.
Okay.
My next question is gonna push the envelope.
Oh Lord.
That's cool.
We love
I've
it.
been
We
waiting to
handle
ask
it.
You know,
We
but
handle
back to the hazing thing, I think that's the misconception a lot of people have with these organizations. They see the hazing, they see School Days, or they see
What's that movie that was on
School days
Netflix?
made me
With-
want to
Burning
join
Sand.
all the stuff that goes with it. So it gets people think, oh well, I don't want to be in a Greek fraternity or sorority because all they do is all the college stuff and then they pledge and haze, and I'm not going through all that. And that's not true at all. This is a lifelong bond.
But some of it is true. Like you
Yeah,
said,
it
there's been lawsuits, so obviously there's been a legal precedence. Also, I know people who are in fraternities and sororities, so I've heard some stories, and this is like, why if I'm trying to build a brotherhood or a sisterhood, why would I put somebody through that to prove themselves to?
Could this okay, and I'll take that and roll with it. And I'm not saying that nobody hazes or anything, but when you join the military, there's basic training, right?
Okay.
So why would the military put people through basic training so they have the preparation to go through adversity in life when they're on the field, right?
Right.
So that same concept, I could see why there probably would possibly people think that there's a hazing thing going on.
Not the
I
kind of
can't-
shit that they was doing.
I can't
Get
make
you
that
ready for life
connection. I can't make that
experiences.
connection. Like you can't sit here and tell me.
Okay, when you was in Infi, did you go through a hazing process?
We absolutely did.
What was the reason for them doing that?
I have no clue. I wanted to be on stage, nigga. That's all I care.
Right.
Like, okay, this is what we got to do. This
Right, whatever it
cool.
takes you to
Nigga
get
said,
there,
"I'm
you
gonna try
got
to get
there.
my-"
Yeah, absolutely. I want to be in MLK parade, all that. I need all
Right.
that.
Right.
But for you to make the connection between the military and fraternity sororities, I would wholeheartedly disagree because basic training is to prepare you for battle. Like I'm out here doing physical work. I'm getting my body and my mind prepared to go to war.
If I'm on the battlefield and you ain't went through basic training and they shooting at me, I got to be comfortable to know that you're going to have my back when the shit get real.
Absolutely. I'm not saying you can't
Right,
build a
right.
brotherhood, but you can't sit here and tell me because I did that hitting me with the big ass wooden paddle is preparing me to be your brother for life. I can't make the connection. If you can make it for me.
So you don't spank your kids?
I used to. My son.
Why would you whoop your kids? So they can get whatever it is that you want them to do, right? Whether you told them to do any chores, whether you told them to do any schoolwork, do it
Absolutely.
properly.
There's another
How did it
grown-ass
get?
person,
How did it
though.
get to the level of you whooping them? You had to repeat it.
More than likely, yeah. Or my son lied to me, and like I know the truth, and I'm giving you opportunity to fix it before you get there, and you didn't. So okay.
It's sort of like a pain stimulates the brain type of
It
thing,
was
right?
definitely negative reinforcement.
Okay.
Is that so? We're applying those concepts to adults. At 21 years old, you can't whoop me. You can't whoop me unless you're whooping. You gotta whoop me. Right? No whooping, my nigga. You can't whoop me. So I don't. So again, I can't make the connection.
I get it.
We are
we're a
non-hazing
non-hazing organization.
Like I've heard stories. I'm like, wow. Like I don't like. I've never got the branding thing. Like that's too close to slavery for me. I've heard a woman tell me, yeah, my organization made me stay up for 24, 48 hours straight. Like we had to sit in there, like we could not go to sleep. Like I'm just trying to understand. Like
You ever see people like go through bullshit at their job, and you be like, "Why you still working there if you going through all that bullshit?"
Every day, brother.
But it's something that's keeping you there, whether it be a paycheck, and most of the times it's solely just the paycheck. But
Well, my livelihood depends on that. My livelihood does not depend on this organization.
once you've been in that job for X amount of years, and that same bullshit that was irritating you the first few years, when you 10 years in and you go through that same bullshit, it doesn't phase you as much because you've been through it before, right?
True. That's true.
So you kind of build a tolerance level to deal with the bullshit at your job.
Yeah, but again,
You're gonna go through
my
bullshit.
livelihood is based
Right,
on this.
right.
Unless I find something else that's more beneficial, that's also contributing to my livelihood.
You kind of see I'm not saying
I get it, but I don't get it. But I'm not Greek.
Okay,
so I'm not gonna understand.
All right, let's get hood with this then,
Okay.
Shannon. Gangbanger, right? People get jumped in sets,
No,
right?
that's the wrong. That's
Yeah,
Y'all might want to jump in.
It's your boy.
No, you right.
No, but
no, we're not gang. No, I'm just using.
gangs.
I use the military. I'm gonna use gangs, right? Why do people get jumped into gangs?
Why do people get?
I don't know. I've never been
That's
jumped in the
I've
game.
never joined a gang.
You're right. Good point. I don't know neither. So I don't know where I was going with that one, but
I don't know either.
We go shift to the next question.
I got a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, being an AKA, being a part of Alpha Kappa, Alpha Incorporated, Sorority Incorporated. All right, girl, get me together, girl. How do you feel about the big story that hit last year with y'all people prostituting these girls online? I remember that story. Did you still feel proud to be a member?
First of all, let me say tell you something right now. Okay. I'm always proud to be a woman.
Say that again.
Like always, because it is bigger than me. It is bigger than a chapter. It's bigger than a city. It's bigger than a state, a region, whatever. However you want to do it. This is a sisterhood that spans internationally, and there's just so much history, and there's so many like positive influencers throughout history that were women of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So the situation in Atlanta, that entire situation was very unfortunate. Similar to any stories of hazing and different things of that nature. There was no reason for it. Like, and a lot of people sit there and said that they were sitting there prostituting themselves to sit there and pay for their initiation fees in the first place. And there was a woman, the woman that was actually like running it, the whole, I guess the madam, right? Yeah. She was a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and she led them down that path. That is a poor reflection of them, because remember, we are all still individuals, and we still make our mistakes, and we still make our flaws, and we still, make stupid decisions.
But do you also feel, because she's older, these are, mind you, these are young women, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old women who are coming in, who is trying to be a part of this organization, who they're not fully mentally developed just yet.
You know,
and
older
when
idiots.
you really want to be a part of something, I've been not with in this sense, but you will kind of, okay, they're older than me, they have more influence, they know what they're talking about, so I have to do this because I want to be a part of this. Kind of just like what you were saying with, I know these are non-hazing organizations, but there are certain things you have to do to be a part of this Divine 9 or Elite 8.
Not
or
Divine 9, because we have the
okay.
There is a process. There's a process, but the process is not hazing.
You have people who are not as strong-minded as other individuals that say, I want this so badly, I'm going to do whatever they tell me to do because of the connections that I may have down the line.
I think that reflects a lot on the individual.
That's what I was going to say.
The situation that happened with the AKAs, when I read it, I was like, oh, the shock value, right?
Then I'm a guy, and they was fine, too.
Stop
but
it.
At the end of the day, the madam or whatever you want to call her, she's an individual, right? She was a woman before she was an AKA, right? So I feel like when a news story hits, if that person is attached to an org, it immediately reflects the org, and that's not fair. I just feel like in those girls that she led to whatever they were doing, I didn't even really get into it because I felt like it wasn't fair to the organization, right? Even though it was based on whether or not they were getting their initiation fees paid or whatever. It could have been anything they wanted to get paid. Who knows what exactly they were doing and for what. I just feel like at the end of the day, no matter what org you're attached to, you're a person. And yes, what you do reflects on that organization, but I think that this particular thing is a woman who was a manipulator, manipulating the young minds of women who have yet found who they were as a person, right? So when you're being mentored, when you're 18, 19, right, you're going to look up to an older woman to show you the way. Right. They were manipulated.
And that's kind of what I was saying at first, which leads me to my second part of that is I have a hard time with accepting that, this was one individual, this is that, it's not supposed to reflect as a whole, when personally I've heard stories from different fraternities, sororities, things that they probably shouldn't be sharing, that they have, but there are things that come out. So I feel like this is just maybe one incident that just happened to get out. It's not that it's an isolated incident. It happens because you have these people making these pledges or pledgees or whatever they call them, have sex with different guys in colleges and stuff. It's part of their initiation and stuff like that. So yeah,
that's a mind blowing.
I like that all y'all act so shocked every time you say something. This is incredible.
Like, I know I've been having his church hand up for a minute.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just because you were saying that you feel like that's both of you guys said that it's a reflection of the individual and not the organization,
right?
But are you saying that because you're personally attached to the organization?
No,
because when you hear there's an outbreak of E. coli at Chipotle, it's like we're not fucking with no Chipotle. That was on the East Coast, but nobody took that mindset. When you hear certain things, you automatically attach to the whole organization and not the.
I still pulls up. Give me my bowl.
It's same as cops. We always talk about.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Same with cops.
That's a good way of putting it. But nah.
Okay.
So when it comes down to it, like, we have to be very honest. So I'm gonna address like we sit there and talk about some of these horror stories because like I even remember I was in junior high or high school or whatever the case may be, where it was a story from Alpha Kappa Alpha where the women were like blindfolded and had their sneakers on and they got in the water at the beach.
I remember that.
And so I remember, it was in California. It was Northern California.
Yeah.
So like I remember that entire situation, and I remember reading this, and I'm just thinking like,
how to get to this
how do you get this? And then a couple years ago, it was on Discovery ID, but they've done the story multiple times where the Delta young ladies the night before they were supposed to become like official, like initiates, like they got in a car wreck and they sit there and they hit the tree, and then the people like deleted the stuff from the cell phones. Yes, there's story, and we can keep going on and on about these stories. So we gonna address these situations. Okay. However, these are, just as Kira said, these are people that take power and authority like in any other organization, whether it is a company or it's a Greek organization or police department or whatever, that take these positions of authority and they run with it and become very manipulative, and they start doing this stuff and trying to sensationalize what they went through supposedly, and put it on, well, I did this, or so you don't have to do this too. These are individuals with power issues. Yeah. But
sometimes
the way that
it's not even that. It's not even that I went through, so you have to go through. I personally know someone who didn't go through and just I think it really comes down to the person, and that person being power hungry and abuse. It's basically
abusive.
You remember that
we have a viewer that asked a question, which is a really good question, and I want to pose it to you. Which you just said something that was, it's after you guys answer this, is going to lead me into my next question that I have for y'all. So she says, so when it comes to the organizations, you guys only associate yourselves with the positive and not the negative, which is actually kind of a good question, because we do see, whether it's a company like you guys said, or organization or whatever it may be, family stuff or whatever. So when you see somebody, that's that individual who just accomplished something great. That's them. That's theirs. But I've seen on social media and different places like, oh, that's my soror. Oh, that only AKAs could do that. Or that's a Delta thing. So you're proud about that, the accomplishments. But when it's something negative, it's like, oh no,
because that has to be a level of accountability.
Something negative though, like I'm not going to go.
Not saying associate yourself, but you have to hold accountability.
We do hold them accountable.
No, it was just like I loved how you answered it, because you answered it so eloquently. It was just like yes, and I mean y'all should see her. She got the smile on. Just like look at her answer.
You don't have to. I feel like you don't have to. If I do something wrong, right, you don't have to publicly blast me about it. Right. My sister, my soror, she's gonna pull me to the side.
It's family business.
Right, exactly. We don't have to. I think people on social media feel like because it was done in public, we have to clean house in public.
That's not the case.
That's not. If something goes on in your household, what your mom used to say, keep my business in my house.
Discretion is key.
Right? So as far as only seeing the positive, of course, if you're outside, you're only going to see the positive. So that's just what it is. And people who are not in these types of organizations don't understand that. We don't have to explain everything.
Nobody individually embraces the bad shit that they do in the public.
But I get it. But that's why I say a lot of it's bringing insight to us, because we're not part of
Right. That's why I had the discussion.
So I want to touch on the accountability piece, because just like I said, we keep our stuff in house, right? But we have our conferences, we have our meetings, we have our stuff. So we restructure our official intake processes to address some of the stuff that goes on. Okay. We sit there and we these lawsuits, we get risk management training all the time,
and that's an MPHC thing.
And that's an MPHC thing across the board. When we sit there and discuss that, and we sit there and acknowledge, and even when we sit there and hold our, whether it's our informationals or the beginning of our intakes or whatever the case may be, we sit there and make it very clear to people. Number one, we are non-hazing organizations, so we do not do X, Y, and Z. Like, and if someone does this is who you call, this is what you do. There's stuff in place for that. Okay. We are reminded every single time we are one lawsuit away from not being able to be insured. And so we are accountable, and we address and we deal with what needs to be dealt with. But just like Kira said, just like Sean said, like, the stupid stuff happens and it gets taken care of, just like your mama brings you in the house. Right. We get sat down, we get talked to, and situations change. People get suspended and expelled all the time. Like, and so we hold ourselves to the fire. We have these real conversations, but it's not necessarily our job to sit there and show that to the world. Right. And then we sit there and even talk about and even when we sit there and talk about our proud moments, we always sit there and say, I'm Ciara Owens first. I was always Ciara Owens first. Then I had the pleasure of being invited into this illustrious sisterhood of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And so anything that I accomplish, anything that I get, I'm Ciara Owens first. And then later they're going to tell you I'm an AK. Then later they're going to tell you, I'm an educator in a school district. Then they're going to tell you this and this. It's a part of my identity. It's not my identity. So I'm an individual first, just like Sean, just like Kira. And so we accept the good and the bad. Church hand?
Yes, I did.
my mind is working. So I'm sitting here listening to the whole conversation, right? And I heard you say, "No,
who's you?"
I'm sorry. I apologize, Ciara. There was a point where you were saying that when I asked about the hazing, you were this non-hazing organization, right? So to me, it sounded like a blue wall of silence. Earlier when we were talking, you were talking about, you put yourself through these things till you build this brotherhood. So I'm sitting here listening, and I'm sounding like, this sounds like it could be a cult.
Low key.
I was just about to ask that too.
My dad calls us the witches. But he doesn't understand. But he's a military man.
It's loyalty more than anything. I mean, we have family loyalty. I got a crackhead uncle.
You were never a part of a team, like in high school. You didn't play like football or whatever. Is that?
I absolutely did.
Okay.
I don't know if we had this uniform sense of we don't.
You didn't have a uniform?
No, like a uniform, uniform.
But you knew mindset. If you didn't have that uniform on, you could not get on that field, right?
Say that one more time.
You knew if you didn't have that uniform on, you couldn't get on the field, right? Absolutely. You couldn't just go out on the field in your sweatpants and think you was about to.
Okay.
So we're not a cult, baby. I promise.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying, like, listening to the.
That's a good question.
Listening to the listen to you repeat.
Right.
We're not hazing question. So it's like that. That sounds like a blue wall of silence. And then again, Sean making the connection between.
I hate doing the, and I'm sure we get it a lot. Quit comparing us to like street gangs.
Right.
Because I mean, gangs ain't really just street. I mean, the police unit is technically a gang. It's a form of a gang. Absolutely. I mean, it's gangs in church. Technically, you got the mother's board, the deacon board, and all that, the usher board. So it's subsets of gangs in any aspect of society. Man, them white gloves. Why you think they got white gloves? No prints.
Okay, so I got a question for y'all, all of y'all. So you had said something about like with people coming in and not having to do as much as you did, or it was something like that. To that,
I don't want to. I'm gonna put somebody through the things that I put.
I said I knew somebody. I knew somebody.
Okay, so how do you guys feel? Your honest opinions about these auxiliary chapters and clubs and stuff.
We don't have, like, I know other orgs who have official groups.
Can I just say something real quick?
You want us to be real?
Yeah, I want y'all to give me your
honest opinion. I'm gonna give you. I don't mind. I'm gonna give you my honest opinion.
You don't want
wrapped up in a pretty bow. Like, no,
we don't.
I want an honest opinion.
We don't have those.
Okay.
Right? So I can't speak on another org and what they do.
No, I'm not asking. I said, what is your opinion of them?
No.
Okay.
Me, Kira, the individual, I personally would not be in an auxiliary group. I don't understand
why.
Because it's just, I wouldn't want
There was a point.
I want to know what separates them. What separates this?
I don't like them. I don't like them.
What?
We there was a point in time IOTA had an auxiliary group, the IOTA Sweethearts. They're their own entity now.
They was girls.
Yeah,
it was girls.
Oh, okay.
So obviously they can't be IOTAs. So they felt like they wanted to contribute in the same capacity to the community that IOTAs did. So there was a point where we had IOTA Sweethearts as an auxiliary group. During the last few years, they've kind of separated and did their own thing. They're still associated with us, but they're not technically an auxiliary group.
And so you remember when somebody tried to sit there and ask me to be IOTA Sweetheart, and you told them specifically, you were like, she's an AKA. And I was like,
I was young and I didn't know the difference.
Y'all not answering my question. I want to know why don't y'all agree with them, or why don't y'all care for them?
So can I ask a clarifying question? When you speak of the auxiliary groups, like, are you speaking on like the
I don't care what
groups?
kind of
you speaking of the youth
not the youth groups.
Okay.
I'm talking about the adults.
The adults, yes. I don't understand. My thing is, if you want to be affiliated with an organization, you go ahead and find an organization that works for you and go join that. And be that and own it.
There's a lot of bike clubs. There's a lot of clubs that do the same things that we do in the D9. They just don't have that bad stigmatism to it. I don't think every biker club is out here like selling drugs and doing everything like they do in Sons of Anarchy.
No, that's the white
Dang,
clubs.
I want to be Gemma.
I definitely do not.
Right, but I get what you're saying. Why would I be in an auxiliary group and not a real sorority?
But I'm saying, okay, like, say I've seen, and I only say this,
so you're saying some why not
criteria.
This group as opposed to
like
Delta
why is
for me?
No, not for you. I'm just saying,
if
like,
you're
what
woman,
are your thoughts on them?
Oh.
Like, considering that you are a part of one of the Divine Nine,
I think,
and they do have auxiliary.
And you're specific to D9 auxiliary groups.
Yes.
Okay. As far as women, right, in the groups that assist the sororities, why not just be in the sorority?
Okay.
They might not be
hold on.
Exactly.
Now, let me go back. What y'all gave us? Y'all said service,
sisterhood, scholarship, and service.
Wait.
She's a sisterhood, scholarship, and service.
Okay. So say these women are, because I've seen some of them, they have kids, they work. Let's say they didn't go to a college or whatever, but they want to be a part of something. So I'm assuming that's how these auxiliary clubs came into play. Maybe, I'm not sure. But if it's based on sisterhood, service, and what is it again? Scholarship. And they're serving those, and they're putting in the work in the community.
Well,
they're doing the same thing.
I'm never knock someone.
I'm not saying knock it. I'm just saying, why are you against it? What separates you from an auxiliary?
Well, I'm not against anything an individual wants to do for themselves.
Not saying
like,
the individual. I'm just saying as a whole. What separates the auxiliary if they have the same mission? Whether it be fraternity,
I don't know what their missions are because we don't have an auxiliary.
Oh, well,
I don't know. We don't have one either.
So when IOTAs had auxiliaries, if the IOTA Sweethearts go left field, and I'm just hypothetically speaking, they did left field and did some hazing thing, and they like killed the woman, we get sued as IOTAs. How we get sued for something that they do, and we're not a part of that because they're auxiliary group. That means somebody has to take accountability for what their auxiliary group does, which at that time would have been us. So to clear that air, we separated. That's why we don't have an auxiliary group.
Right, but what I'm saying is that wouldn't be no different if they were up in the fraternity altogether or a sorority altogether. If they got in trouble, the fraternity gets in trouble.
Right.
What I'm saying is you guys clearly made a distinction that we don't have an auxiliary, and I get that. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I can't speak on that. I get the whole little politically correct stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's correct, not even politically correct.
I'm saying your answer was politically correct.
So ultimately,
we don't have those, so I can't say this. But I'm saying, would you join an auxiliary group if you were not?
It probably wouldn't be in her best interest because it's something.
No, I want to know why. If it's sisterhood, service, and
because it's a collegiate group. Like a sorority is a collegiate group. Right, so that's what I'm gonna be very honest. That's what separates us from the auxiliary group. In order to be a member of Delta Sigma Theta, Alpha Kappa Alpha, any of these organizations, like you need to have, or unless you go undergrad, then you're pursuing a college degree. It's a collegiate organization. This is how we were founded. So ultimately,
it's a prerequisite.
It's a prerequisite. You know what I mean? It's how you got to check this box. And so I support as Kira said, whatever you want to go do, you go ahead and go do that. There's too many other organizations out here. There's so many organizations that are also doing sisterhood, scholarship, and service in some other form. For it to not be, I call them
the Masons.
I call them baby offshoots of you know what I mean? I personally feel like there are too many other amazing organizations that are already established that you can go join that does the same thing and serve right along with us. Like one of my favorite events that we do all year is Thanksgiving Day Baskets. And we have over like 50 different organizations that sit there and collaborate with us to do the same work. I just don't necessarily feel like, and there's only a few organizations that even have auxiliary groups. It's a collegiate organization. So if you want to be one of us, because ultimately that's what I feel like these auxiliary groups are. You ultimately want to be one of us. Let's put in the work to do it. Get there. Yeah. And that means going to go get a degree.
Is that ultimately what separates you guys from the majority of the auxiliary groups? Is that there's no college requirement? Because you have to have a GPA and
you need to have a in order to be a member of undergrad for AK, you need to have a cumulative average and semester average of a 2.5, a C plus average, and then on grad chapter. You at least need to be second semester freshman, and then for grad chapter you need to have a degree, a 4-year degree.
Okay.
From anywhere.
See, now I got another question. So let's say that this person pledges, right, and they cross over.
Ricky Smiley.
They don't get.
He didn't graduate college, but you
don't get a degree. You don't graduate.
But they're already a member of the organization?
Yeah.
Then they're still a member of the organization.
Right.
Because at one point they were pursuing one.
God damn it.
I know, and that's why there's different levels of membership. So every organization, you have your undergraduate, you have your graduate, you have your general membership, you have your associate member, but you're still a member of that organization because at that time, and typically the members that don't finish their degrees are ones that came through undergrad. And so there are plenty of individuals that don't finish, but now they're associate members.
Yeah, but that leads me back to my whole thing with what sets y'all apart from an auxiliary club versus being a part of it. And it's like,
we're a collegiate organization.
We're a collegiate organization.
We
have a degree.
We
really don't have to have a degree.
That is what we're a collegiate
organization.
But you really don't have to have a degree to be a part of the
if you go undergraduate, you are pursuing a degree, and we would hope that as you become this member, that you have enough support system that you finish school.
Right.
Like that is our goal. And even the kids that we mentor is to get you to finish school. Now there's unfortunate situations. Life happens. People change. People have babies, whatever the case may be, where people do no longer finish. You are still my sister. At one point in time, you were on this path and you were on this road. What would we look like if we sit there and say that our foundation is sisterhood? Oh, you stopped going to school, girl. Right. You no longer a member. What? That takes away the entire foundation of it. Mm-hmm. So my thing with the auxiliary groups is that at some point in time,
So it's not even about.
Please make it make sense to me.
It's not even about it being politically correct. I can't speak on an auxiliary org because I know nothing about them.
Right.
I don't know what their requirements are, but I do know.
You know they exist though.
I know they exist.
Okay.
But I didn't need to know about auxiliary groups. I knew
because y'all we don't have those. We
don't have them.
We don't have them. Say that's the attitude that's reflected.
It's not even like an attitude. It's just we don't have
Can't
them.
Speak on what you don't know.
So I can't feel a certain way about something if number one, it's not a part of Delta's history. There was nothing that I needed to know or learn about an auxiliary group because we just didn't have them. That wasn't significant to what I was trying to do as I was pursuing Delta. Mm-hmm. They didn't bring up auxiliary groups. It wasn't a thing.
I know that, but they're a thing now. And what I'm trying to understand, nobody has gave me a clear answer. What separates them now? If y'all founded on sisterhood, service, and goddamn scholarship.
Iota Sweetheart's founder, Audrey Brooks.
Hold on.
I'm about to explain. I'm about to really lay it down.
And you specifically said what separates us is it's collegiate. You have to have a degree, but you don't have to have a degree. Long as you have to be.
There's a bare minimum of college.
I'm just saying, I want to, because I just seen a bunch of people in the auxiliary group, and I was like, "What is that?" And so I was doing my research. I was like, "What is this?" because I wasn't familiar with that. I'm not Greek. I've been to college, so I don't know. So I want people like I want the real answer. I don't want no sugarcoat answer. But then it's like kind of hard because I know that y'all are not only I know y'all individuals as y'all stated, but you're also representing your sororities.
When it comes down to it, if we sit there and say that our pillar, if we sit there and say our core values, just like you said, is sisterhood, scholarship, and service, that scholarship means that like we want you to be striving for a degree. We want you to earn your degree. Like that is our ultimate goal. And I guess I just feel like, and this is Ciara talking, and this has to be Ciara, have to be very transparent. Like I feel like if I sit there and put in place an auxiliary group where the expectation is not to have a degree, and I already have this in place, I'm already knocking down one of my core values. So then evidently I'm not holding my table high enough, in my opinion. And so I'm going to say, like, in my personal opinion, that's like me sitting there telling my kid, I want you to strive to go get a degree. But if you don't, baby, it's okay because you can still be an AKA. You can still sit there and do this and this. And I'm not doing that because that automatically takes down and cuts down my initial message. So as Ciara, all right, I'm not with it. Because if this is really what you want to be a part of, you want to sit there and wear my colors.
Looking for. Poke your chest out.
And this is real. You know what I mean?
That's what
I'm giving to you. I got you. This is what it is. If you want to sit there and wear my colors, you want to sit there and throw up a sign similar to mine, you want to sit here and stroll with me, you want to sit there and do all of this stuff and act like you are my equal.
You gotta be
I need
equal
you
to
be my equal.
Thank you. That's what I was waiting for.
You could have saved us 10 minutes.
Y'all done had the cookie cut out like forever. I'm like, y'all ain't giving me what I want.
Now I'm mad at you. I ain't mad at you. Now I'm mad at you because we could have saved 10 minutes.
Well, because ultimately, like, I don't want to sit there and
you don't want to knock an auxiliary group.
I want everybody to sit there and do their work.
So I've been quiet
all
over
of
here.
Us have our entire role, and the entire community, entire world, whatever, needs everybody's helping hands to do whatever. However, not everyone is going to be pretty and pink and gorgeous and green, and that's okay.
Look at her.
Completely
spicy.
Okay.
I like it.
No, and that's you know what I mean, and that's okay.
And that's same with the cousins that y'all do. I like the positivity things that y'all doing in the community. I like the unity that y'all got. It doesn't take y'all joining a fraternity or sorority to be a part of what y'all doing in the community. Y'all gonna do it regardless.
Absolutely.
I respect that more than anything.
I appreciate.
So that's kind of like the comparisons of everything. Like I don't
Okay.
need to be a part of an organization to do for my community. I'm gonna do it if I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Do me.
Yeah.
Do
Right.
Did anybody here go to school out of state? No, in state.
I'm not from here, so I went to school in New Jersey.
Okay, so but you went to school. You were from New Jersey. And you went to school in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So nobody actually went to school in New
From
Jersey.
Right, yeah.
Okay, then my question is moot. Cause I just wanted to know: did joining a fraternity or sorority help you in your transition away from home? But it's just nobody.
I mean,
It helps you in your transition.
I mean,
in
I'm
life.
from a really small town, like
Okay.
super small, and even though I went to school 30 minutes, it literally was 30 minutes from my house, from where I grew
Was
up.
it a culture shock?
It was a completely different world.
Okay.
Like, I definitely had. The lucky thing for me was that I had, because it was so close to home, I had family who actually worked on campus.
Okay.
But it's still, I mean, they went home. So when it was just me in this, it was like a city within a city, right?
Okay.
It was a completely different vibe, different cultures, different. I don't think it takes somebody going out of state to get that culture shock.
Okay.
So.
Well, I can only speak on Las Vegas experience because.
Here's a question. Dante said, "Does your degree, selective membership, and colors make you feel like a black elite?"
Ooh.
Oh, my sister. So I have a
No.
middle sister. Absolutely not. Like, yeah, I have a middle sister who is like anti-establishment. It's so funny. A couple of years ago, she sat there and said that like myself and my younger sister, we think that we're elite because of our degrees and we're part of the establishment and blah 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 blah. And no, absolutely not. I put my pants on one after another. Like it's my colors. You rarely see me in them. Like I said from the beginning,
Same
I wanted to be.
I'ma have.
Exactly. Like it's no, absolutely.
Do you
not.
think a lot of people feel that way? Like, oh, they the uppity Negroes because they
I
part
think
of
that
this
people used
organization.
to feel that way.
Yeah.
I was going to say too earlier, like statistically
girl.
too, you guys have changed. Like the
I
persona
know.
of AKAs have
Yes.
changed
You
because
should
I know coming up, growing
Nobody
up when I
fits the
was little,
stereotypes.
there were the stereotypes.
I'm light
Yeah.
skinned.
Stereotype. Yeah,
Was
yeah,
light
yeah.
skin, light skin,
Yep.
curly hair,
Damn school
goddamn
days.
pinkies and goddamn
Oh, yeah.
swirling of the heads and all that shit. That's what you associated AKAs with.
Yeah.
Just super prissy. The deltas, I kind of associated them with like and don't feel no type of way, y'all. Like the Michelle Obama's,
I'm sure I've
like
heard it all,
like
so
strong, like dark skin, but like stronger, but like. I'm cute, like, but bitch, I'll slap the shit out of you if you play with me. And then I looked at Zetas as like, hey, we here and you gonna see us coming, like, and bitch, you better not step on my shoes. Like, that's what, like, from a little girl, I like put them all into different categories because when I saw them, that's what I saw.
Right.
But it has totally changed.
And nobody really
years.
does the research. Like everybody think, oh, why they want to be a part of a Greek letter organization? They're not Greek, they black. And they're not realizing the only thing that's Greek with us is the letters of the organization.
So what separates the D9 from traditional Greek fraternities?
We're a lifetime commitment.
Yeah.
We are founded in Sisterhood Scholarship and Service.
It's not
and we
just-
are not cutting checks. We putting in work.
Yep.
To sound stereotypical, I had, you know, which was sad, but like we're not cutting checks. We cut checks too, but
who checks didn't cut too?
We actually just raised $1,698 to go to the American Heart Association. I threw an event, red wine and dark chocolate, a couple weeks ago. $20 tickets and made that much money.
Okay.
And so like we do a lot of great things, but at the same time as we doing red wine and dark chocolate, you'll sit there and see us, going to clean up the park, or you gonna see us, building painting playgrounds and like all this other stuff. So like we are very well rounded. So just as people sit there and see us in our, ball gowns or whatever at our galas, like you gonna see us in our sneakers and our t-shirts, like doing some real stuff. Like
that's amazing. And
so no, we're not elite. No, like historically you want to sit there and do that, but even how we were founded, like our organizations were established because at a time where we were not supposed to be getting these educations. You needed this sisterhood. You needed this foundation of support to sit there and make it through the day. Like you see, and it's crazy, we were sitting there, we just reflected, like now you see our boules and you see our regional conferences, and we're at these amazing hotels and we're doing all this stuff, but that didn't exist beforehand. Like it was controversial and it was dangerous for us to sit there and gather and have these meetings and whatnot. And so when it comes down to it, like we were founded out of a need. This was not a want. Like, and it's continued and it's still to a certain degree still a need. Like there's nothing more beautiful than sitting in a room and being surrounded by all shades of us and knowing that we are in all fields and doing so much work and like doing such good, and knowing that like whether it's me sitting in a room of Alpha Kappa Alpha women, or me being able to sit there and fellowship with the Deltas or the Iotas or the Noops or whatever, and knowing that I'm sorry, K Psi Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, to sit there and know that like we are doing work. And so every successful black person that you sit there and see, they're part of something. And it doesn't have to be the D9.
Right.
They might be a Mason. They might be an Eastern Star. Right. They might be a Link. They might be a top lady of distinction. They might be a member of the society. They might just be a member of their church. But all of us belong to something. We as black people are not meant to stand alone. Like we are collective people.
Right. I agree.
I got one more question before we get out of here.
Right. 2 minutes.
Fraternities and sororities were traditionally started at HBCUs in the South.
Not all of them.
Most of
them. Do you feel like
Howard is not in the South?
Neither is Indiana.
Right.
Some people consider DC the South.
Indiana.
Definitely.
I've heard it.
East Coast.
Okay. But do you feel like because you're from UNLV, you're from Jersey, do you feel like because you didn't pledge at a HBCU that
No. So at the end of the day, our organization as a whole had the same thing I learned in South Jersey. It's the same thing they learned in the South. We have the same principle, the same common goal. So nobody, just because they went to a blacker school than I did, doesn't mean their experience was any better or they're any better. We all have the same goal. We learn the same things.
Okay.
Sarah, what you got to say anything before closing? Got 1 minute.
We do work. Like we do work.
Leave it at that. Ivan, what you got to say?
Black people, I love y'all. Be good to each other.
Shannon, what about yourself?
I got a better understanding, so I thank you, ladies.
You're welcome.
We really thank you guys for coming out. I
you
really
gonna ask
appreciate
Kera
it.
what she got to say?
Who? Kera, what you want to say in close? I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
No. I think think the conversation was beautiful, and I think we did it. I was nervous because I was just like,
I wouldn't lead you down there.
No. I didn't think anything disrespectful would happen, but I just know that when I hate the term GDIs. I wish we can come up with something better. But when people who are outside have questions, it could get real testy. So I appreciate the conversation, and I'm glad that you got your questions answered. So.
Yeah, it took a long time.
It took a minute.
Don't be disrespectful.
Tell them you can find us, The Popular Misfits, on YouTube, SoundCloud, Instagram, and Twitter. Instagram and Twitter is the popular_misfits. I know I'm messing it up, brother. Your tongue. I know, man.
Y'all know y'all can catch me at Shay_Yvette. That's on IG and Twitter, and I have not been on Twitter.
Young Al Bundy, YUNG_Al_Bundy.
Y'all want to throw y'all social medias out there too? Y'all good?
No, thank you.
Fair enough.
I'll be on the gram though. Miss K Redmond 1913.
All right. This is The Popular Misfits. Y'all take care.